The early videos were bad. I would have been very embarrassed if people had found them. The consistency was everything. You have to do it repeatedly for a long time. No one wants to hear your thoughts if you don't have anything to say.
What does success actually look like to you?
Success to me looks like being able to do whatever I want.
Luke, dude, thanks so much for taking the time. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad we could finally make it happen.
I've been watching you for over 2 years now, and you may be the only creator I know who's like really stuck to the blueprint of just like uploading consistently, iterating on videos, repeating what works, and now you just crossed 100,000 subscribers.
Well, I mean, if you stuck with it through those early videos, then anything's got to be an improvement now. So I think it's just been my approach to everything, because I got into most of these things, photography and film and stuff, relatively late. I mean, I didn't actually start getting paid to take photos until, later in my 20s, after I'd had a lot of other jobs. And so because I've never had any contacts or formal training or connections, and because I moved a lot, like my entire 20s, I was traveling pretty much. So the only thing I could do really was just force my way in through repeated effort. And once it works for one thing, you realize, oh, well, this is how everything works. And then you just repeat the process. So, photography was the really hard one. I was lucky. I had a great mentor. Basically, I cashed in my master's degree, gave the money to him instead, and we did a workshop together. And one of those very risky decisions, because it doesn't always sound like a good idea to give up on your master's degree to do a photography workshop. But that guy gave me a really great blueprint, and he just was very honest in the beginning. And he said, it's probably going to take you 3 to 5 years of doing this all the time to get anywhere. Are you all right with that? And I took that very seriously. And so I just sort of went out. Basically, the day our workshop finished, we were in Bangladesh, and everybody moved on, and I just stayed. And then for the next couple of years, I just did nothing but take pictures like it was my full-time job. I was even taking paid jobs and asking to be demoted to junior positions where I would be able to carry a camera. In the first maybe 14 months, I sold one photo to the Canadian Encyclopedia, which is website, which is not like a big thing. And I only got that because a girl I went to high school with, worked there, and it was $50. So that was my only sale in a year and a half. And then I didn't really get my first assignment until probably a little over 2 years. And so that was the hardest one, because there's no certainty that it was going to work. But then when it did work, and then later on, I eventually moved into video, that was the only thing I knew. So I said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. And then when it came to YouTube, it was actually the easiest because I already knew the system.
Actually, tell me a little bit about your journey, your YouTube journey. How did that start? Like, why decide to go down that path?
Well, I'd always been kind of curious about YouTube. I consume a lot of it. And I always have, sort of, even a little bit before everyone was watching it all the time, I was sort of got into it. I didn't really consider having a channel of my own. I had some friends tell me that I should, but I wanted all my energy to go to the career side. I wanted to move up in the industry and get better at the skill before I talked about it. And then a few channels started to come out. I mean, obviously, like Peter McKinnon was very big, but I still wasn't interested at that point. And then a guy named Mark Bone, if you're into documentary, he came out with a channel, and that was about 2 years before me. And it was the first one where someone was talking more professionally about the process of filmmaking. It was just a little more serious from someone who had some industry experience. And that changed my thinking about it, where I saw him having success and I thought, well, that I could maybe do. I don't want to do technical reviews in my office, but maybe I could just talk about my experience. And it all kind of came together where I was moving back to Canada after being overseas for 15 years. And 2 weeks after I got back, COVID started. So I just stopped working almost completely. I had a couple of jobs here and there, but I just started to go crazy. I think the first 6 months of COVID, I actually enjoyed a lot, slowing down in the piece of it. And then I started to go crazy because I really need to be producing stuff. So that was the only thing that I figured I could do completely on my own without leaving the house and without needing anyone's help. And, the other lesson from COVID was that none of it is in your control at all. You're independent, but I was completely reliant on other people for my livelihood, and things could come up, and then, what would you do?
Mm.
So, it was part needing to be productive and part wanting to create something that would future proof me a little bit because I got into it late. So I wasn't 22 at this point. I was a little bit older and I was already looking ahead to 50 and thinking, I can kind of imagine what that'll be like, and I need to take care of myself.
There's so many little points in there that I want to discover a little bit further. My experience in filmmaking has often been that people were looking at YouTube with like that's not that's not real. That's nothing serious. They don't know how to make anything. It's just like people running around with a camera, but they don't understand anything about filmmaking. And I know some filmmakers who just like wouldn't touch YouTube at the time because it was just seen as this like whatever thing. Did you ever have a feeling like that, or you were just like, I'm just gonna try it out?
When I started with YouTube, the model had already people had already had some success, so that really early days of YouTube is a joke meme were sort of over. But it was
Hmm.
pretty embarrassing to think about what would happen if my professional colleagues saw them, because the early videos were bad. I mean, they were. I assumed because I'd worked on Netflix shows that I could just start shooting YouTube videos and I would be really good at it. But it's its own art form with its own rules for storytelling and its own rules on what works. And the first ones were terrible, and was really I would have been very embarrassed if people had found them. So my one of my first rules was that I would never promote the channel outside of YouTube itself, and I still never have. My Instagram is completely separate. There's no link. I've never shared a link really anywhere. I've never made a social media post saying check out my new video. It's all been inside the platform because I didn't want my colleagues to see. And now many people have seen it, including people who are much more experienced than me, and it's not embarrassing at all. And actually, in the beginning, it wouldn't have been embarrassing either because nobody really cares what you're doing. But I think people these days who write off YouTube as being completely a waste of time, it might not be for them, but it is very real. It's just different. On the flip side of that, it's not the same thing as working with a 13-person crew. Everyone's a top professional at what they do, and you have a budget to go do something really crazy is different than me sitting in this room, writing scripts and recording them to YouTube. I think YouTube can be a very compelling storytelling or educational platform, but there's a reason why I haven't quit my job as a DP. There's a quality and a depth that you can get to with old school production that you just don't see on YouTube. That might change, and I really hope it does. And I could imagine a future where more and more you'll get a higher level of production value shooting just for YouTube and releasing serialized content with large personalized audiences. So they're blending more and more, but they're very different. But that's not to say that YouTube, it's just what you choose to upload to YouTube, right? If you have
Yeah.
$2 million to make a YouTube video, you can make something like Anthony Bourdain's show. It's just, where's the money? Right now, it's still more accessible in the traditional market, but as channels become more profitable and more mainstream, I don't know, who knows where the balance is going to go. I'm going to play around with both.
Yeah, I wanna get to that point about the difference between traditional and YouTube and how those two things merge together. But first, maybe let's stick a little bit with the more YouTube thing, you sitting in your room and just making videos. Did you have any kind of plan when you decided to go down that route? Because like you've been so consistent. Like, have you ever missed a week? Have you been uploading every single week since then?
No, I have not missed a week yet. I'm good. That might change now that I promised myself when I started that I would make a video a week and with the goal of hitting 100,000. And now that we're past that, the number, all the numbers don't, the subscriber count doesn't mean anything anymore. The idea was I'm going to make a video a week until I get to that point. Now, as I'm so busy and I'm also starting to make the videos more and more complex and they're getting really
Mm-hmm.
expensive to make because I'm renting locations and hiring people, um, I may miss a week here and there, but that's a conscious decision. And it has been for 6 months. My editor and I have been talking about how, we're going to not be so strict moving forward if it means putting out a bad video. But the consistency was everything. I mean, it was the plan from the beginning. I spent a long time thinking about whether or not I'm going to do something, but once I decide, I sort of just start going, and
Mm-hmm.
then I don't really stop. Things that don't hold my interest, I won't pay any attention to. So that's bad. But when I find something I actually want to do, I just lock onto it, and it's not hard for me to be consistent.
On your journey to getting 100,000 subscribers, have there been any really unexpected challenges along the way?
Yeah, there's lots. I think first the bigger it gets, the more the voices change and the more you have to deal with more people reacting to your stuff, and generally that
Mm-hmm.
means a big increase in negativity. I try not to let that stuff bother me. It used to be when I first started, at 99 out of 100 comments were like, yeah, this is great, so happy to see another video, and I was answering every single one for about 18 months,
Yeah.
and it was really nice. And then something shifted. I had one video that wasn't even very good go viral for no reason a year after I made it, and now it's by far the most viewed video on the channel. It's, I don't know, almost at 1 million or something now, and it's not a good video. I'll just be honest. And when that started to happen and the numbers started to move up quickly, um, you start to see more and more and more of the like, this guy doesn't know anything. How could you say that? I'm so shocked that you would. And at first, the shift is like, whoa. And it's as much as you tell yourself it doesn't matter what that guy in his basement thinks, because if you're taking the time to write those kind of comments, I probably am not going to wouldn't be your friend in real life, anyways. But that hurts a little bit, and it basically I had to turn to a policy of no comment reading at all. But more
Mm-hmm.
and more, what I do is my editor will go and find real questions, pull them out, put them in a Google Doc, and I'll answer them in the Google Doc, and he'll go back and post them. Because even like a little trip into that comment section at the wrong time in the wrong frame of mind, it's amazing how it can get under your skin. Even though it's stupid, someone says something, calls you an idiot, and 2 weeks later, you're still arguing in your brain about this is what I'd say to that guy if I saw him, right? And that person's just living their life, trolling someone else. They're not even thinking about you, but they're in my head, even though I know it's dumb. And the other challenge that comes is the inevitable slumps. YouTube goes in waves, and you'll
Yeah.
have a big boost up, and then it'll just level out, and then it'll dip. And when it goes down, it feels like it'll never come back. I mean, everyone says this is generic advice, but it takes just as much effort to make a video that performs badly as it does to make a good one. So you don't have control. And half the time, videos that do well, you're like, really, this one? And sometimes videos you think are amazing tank. They just bomb completely. So and then you'll go through runs where 6, 7, 8, 10 videos in a row all underperform, and that's when you start
Mm-hmm.
going, should I really be doing this? Should I really be paying a salary to an editor now? Like, is this sustainable? Is everyone sick of this? But if you just keep making videos, you'll get out of that rut eventually. Sometimes the downturns are because you're getting lazy and the videos are not interesting, or people's tastes have changed and you need to evolve, and that's your responsibility. But again, that's just make more videos. And sometimes it's just no reason at all. Everyone was outside for the summer and then it comes back.
It's yeah, it's so funny you say that about the the videos that perform well are usually the ones you don't expect to, because the video that has the most views on my channel right now is technically bad. Like from a camera perspective, from a production standpoint, it's not a good video. But whatever is in the video resonates with people. So
If it works, it works. It's cool. But I mean, yeah, those videos are impossible to plan for. And some of the videos that are the most successful in the one that is, about to hit a million, which is like more than double the next most popular video, I think.
mhm.
That video got no views. And then one summer day, like 9 months later, we're sitting, I was sitting there in the morning and I looked at my phone. I was like, what is happening? And like my subscribers were just jumping up by, you know, like 300 a day, which at the time I had 5,000 subscribers, and it was like, this is not normal. And this one video just took off way down the road for no reason at all. I didn't change the thumbnail. I didn't do anything. It just, it just went. And now it's funny because now I'm seeing, like, whenever you start a new YouTube channel, the first thing you do is look at what the other people in your niche are doing and try and copy their videos, right? And now
Yes,
I'm seeing
exactly.
that video everywhere. And I stole from other people when I started too. So no judgments on all these people. But, it's kind of interesting when something goes to that level. But it also means that we really have to shift the way we make content, because making those videos now doesn't there's too much. There's too much sameness, and so you have to kind of keep ahead and keep changing.
And talking about changing and like evolving, how has your professional experience as being a DP on documentaries influenced your YouTube filmmaking and vice versa? Like, are those two things interacting with each other at all?
Sort of, more and more now. I think in the beginning, though, like, YouTube is sort of, the classic two sides are education and entertainment. And I was making strictly educational videos for a long time, and I still really am. But those videos were more about clarifying ideas and writing than they were about filmmaking exactly. The DP career gave me things to write about because I would have experiences as I was working. And once I trained my brain to pay attention, I would start to get ideas, all the time. If a camera assistant would ask me a question, I'd go, oh, yeah, that'd be pretty good. And I'd make a note. And so it was giving me the material. So it was symbiotic. I think that's why my channel works in a lot of ways. What I hear from people is they like that I don't seem like a YouTuber, like I seem fairly straightforward, and that I actually am doing stuff. That's really the only two consistent things. It would be much harder if I had just gone straight to YouTube and not had the professional experience, because it's not that hard for me to craft the videos because I already know how to answer the questions, if that makes sense. I just have to talk about myself and my experience versus pretending that I understand some big concept that I don't really. And that requires like deep technical research to compensate for the fact that you don't have any experience. And that's where you get these sort of bland gear review channels. And I'm not singling anyone out because I love gear reviews, but you get a lot of at the bottom end of YouTube, the people who are just starting. You see, there's a lot of people at the bottom of that pyramid who are just like, this prime lens is a game changer, and you're like, no, it's not. No, and everybody can tell now. It's the audience is too sophisticated. There's too many people doing the same stuff, and I think we're entering, when it comes to filmmaking, sort of like filmmaking and photography, sort of like 3.0 times. There was the Peter McKinnon sort of massive, Matty Hapoya is the guys who started it, made it very
Hmm.
popular. not counting original guys like Alistair Chapman and Philip Bloom and all these. There's this. It started, and then that first period ended with guys like Peter McKinnon and Matty Hipoya making it mainstream, and then there's maybe this like second generation that is sort of people like me or Mark Bone or like Ryan Cow, these medium sized channels who saw them and started, and now there's so much to the point where, yeah, I see my videos being copied, which is cool. I don't. It's funny. Um, Without that experience and without that evolving, that continuous input of new experiences, I would probably struggle. But lately, we've been experimenting with much longer form videos, where like I'm flying in a BTS guy, we're renting a location, and like I'll have a professional issue rather than just do that test and then come back and make a YouTube video. I'm bringing people along for that. Like if before a big shoot, I need to figure out new lighting setups. And so normally I would do them separately, maybe capture a little bit of B-roll and come back and explain it. But we've now started experimenting with doing these things in real time, bigger productions. And it seems, I mean, by my channel's metrics, people seem to be liking it and they're watching, 45-minute videos. Whereas I used to tell the editor, don't let anything be over 12.
Boy, that sounds really interesting, and it sounds like the two worlds are getting closer to each other a little bit.
They are getting closer. Long term, I do think there is potential for the professional stuff to start moving more and more onto. I still think this is the early days of YouTube.
But has YouTube already helped your filmmaking career anyway? I mean, you said earlier you didn't share it at the beginning, and you're still not really sharing it, but people found it or people see it. So has jobs come through YouTube, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's been very changing, life changing, in quite a few ways. One, it's just mentally, it's been good for me to have something to do all the time, keeps me consistent.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been huge. Beyond that, I mean, financially, there was no money at all in YouTube for a very long, maybe the first year and a half. Um, now, now it helps a lot because the extra revenue that it brings in means that I can, like, normally as a DP, you get some good jobs and then you get a lot of like, reality TV or a home renovation or something that you're doing because you just need money. And YouTube has sort of allowed me to say no to all those and just sort of take the ones that I think are good. And then the other big benefit to YouTube as a professional cinematographer is that getting free gear as a business model in my job, if you don't have to buy that stuff anymore, um, that's a big advantage. And it's very easy to get gear. Uh, it's harder to get money out of YouTube, but it's very easy to get stuff. I don't take anything or promote anything that I don't want to become part of my professional kit. So,
Hmm.
I turn down most offers. But when I do need something, like, well, like right here, these are some full frame zoom lenses, and my other zoom lenses are Super 35. And I had a shoot where they were asking, do you have full frame zoom lenses? I was like, I don't. But then I went through my email and I found the contact because someone had made an offer before, and you say, hey, do you still want to do this? And then now you have the thing. Whereas, so that's a big advantage professionally speaking. It sort of like doubles my profitability as a filmmaker.
Is there ever going to be a point where you would consider uh, quitting professional DP work and just doing YouTube?
Mm, I guess it depends how you qualify professional. I mean, I think it's possible that, one of my pipe dream references for
Hmm.
nonfiction storytelling of any kind is Anthony Bourdain's show, right? It's just like a classic
Yeah.
show that, I know a lot of the people who worked on that show. Like I worked for that production company
Hmm.
many times. It's so good. And it's like one of the gold standards of nonfiction. If you could generate enough money that you could make scaled back version of that, but the only outlet was YouTube, that would be the dream. But my goal has never been to succeed as a cinematographer or to succeed as a YouTuber. to find a way to support um, the thing that I like to do, which is to like go have very strange experiences and document them and then share them with other people. That's the job.
That's the first time I heard that version of success, but I do like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really haven't ever had a job. I mean, I guess back in the day, it's been a very long time since I've had a job, you know.
If you think about somebody who is into filmmaking, who wants to start a YouTube channel, or starts putting themselves out there, but they haven't made that first step, what would you tell them? What's your advice to them?
I think you have to spend a lot of work on the front end thinking about what you're trying to accomplish. Like, why do you want to do any of it? Do you want a YouTube channel because you think it's going to make you a bunch of money and make you, successful and make you into a filmmaker, a successful filmmaker somehow? Because that's a very bad motivation because it takes so much time and effort to get to that point. If you have zero experience at both and you just think, I'm going to be a YouTuber and that'll get around the fact that I haven't done anything as an actual filmmaker, I think you're going to get lost in the thousands of other people who get stuff on Amazon and then return it after their review. So I would prioritize life experiences, definitely. I would say you have to have if you want to be a filmmaker and if you want to be a filmmaker on YouTube, you have to have stories to tell about something. It can't just be I bought this thing. So that would be my best advice. Like, don't be in such a rush to get YouTube famous because you think it's a path to success. Because for a lot of people, it won't be. But when it can be a really interesting path to success, if you're already doing the thing and you start sharing your knowledge or sharing the journey of how you are trying to get that knowledge, aka you're doing something, you don't have to be top level pro, but you got to be doing it.
Yeah,
No one wants to hear your thoughts if you don't have anything to say.
I keep hearing that, or like it's a common theme amongst successful YouTubers or successful creators, that they have life experience, and that just weaves into the videos they make, and
Well,
that's what resonates with people.
if you're in the educational space, right? I mean, it's different if you're Ryan Trahan or something, or Mr. Beast. That's a whole different thing. But if you're in the educational space, like you want to teach people about filmmaking, just think about yourself. If you're signing up to a college course, you want your English courses to be taught by a writer and your math courses to be taught by a mathematician, not someone who has the theoretical information. So you don't have to be Einstein, but you do need to be better than the people you're trying to teach.
What does success actually look like to you? Can you like summarize that in your thoughts?
I mean, what does success look like? I mean, I'm kind of happy that I'm just able to do this thing. It seems pretty silly that I'm able to have a pretty good living just still doing this stuff. That's pretty amazing to me. Um, I don't know what there is no finish line, right? Like I think any creative
Mm,
field, if you think you're gonna win one day, you're just gonna be disappointed because none of the accomplishments mean what you think they'll mean when you get them. Like when I had 100 subscribers, you feel like, oh, 100,000 and I'd feel great. But like, I don't care. I'm the same. Nothing changed in my life. I'm not happier, or sadder. I'm exactly the same as I was 8 days ago. And the same is true for everything. I've talked about this lots on the channel, but when I was doing photography, I thought if I could only work for the New York Times, then I'd feel like I've made it. And I got 3 photos on the front page and I didn't feel any different. You feel good for like 2 hours when everyone's liking your Instagram post. And after that, it, it's exactly the same. Success to me looks like being able to do whatever I want. If I can grow these businesses to the point, where everything that I'm saying yes to is because I want to do it, then that's pretty good.
yeah, that's a vision I can subscribe to. That sounds fun. That sounds something that feels good. Um, Is there anything else you want to add to this conversation? Anything that we haven't touched on yet?
If I'm talking specifically to an audience that's interested in filmmaking and content creation and all that, like I think I would just encourage people to remember that the the only way all of this is entirely possible, right? Like anything that you want to do in any of these spaces is all very doable. I'm not bragging by any means, but every time I have really decided I really want to do this and then actually done work for a long period of time, all of it's worked. It seemed crazy when I wanted to be a photojournalist, but it worked. It seemed crazy when I wanted to become a cinematographer, but it worked. And same with YouTube. Everything that I haven't focused on, and those three things were the only three things that I fully focused on. I'm not saying everything in my life has been an incredible success because I'm some sort of genius. It's not that. It's everything else I went in half committed. But for whatever reason, those things really grabbed my interest and I worked hard at them. And when I have genuinely, like, when I'm honest with myself and I look and say, okay, those are the three things you really tried hard, they all worked. And all the things I wanted to do, like I wanted to be a really good drummer and I kind of tried a little bit and I played a little bit here and there, but I didn't work hard and it's gone. There's everything that I half-assed, if I can say that, has not turned into anything. It's just you gotta start doing it, and instead of thinking about it, and you have to do it repeatedly for a long time. And if you follow that formula, which is so simple but extremely hard, you will succeed.
Good words to remind yourself of. I do have one more question that I have to ask about that, because what do you do in situations where it's not working out, where you have a bad day, where you've been at it for like a year and a half and still see no progress and you still keep going? Like, how do you
Well,
deal with a situation like that?
well, that's exactly the point. Is that a year and a half is nothing in the scope of a career. It's nothing. Like if when you're 55 and you're telling the stories of how you got started, the first year and a half is like a little bump on the radar, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like when my teacher told me it's going to take you 3 to 5 years for you to get anywhere, and I was like, okay, and I accepted that. It's that's the issue is the like I've been sending out emails for 6 months and I haven't gotten any jobs, and I bought my camera a year ago and I made two short films, but so far I haven't gotten into any festivals and I'm losing hope. And I'm like, you've barely started. um, it takes years and years and years of starting at the bottom and slowly growing something. you know, Roger Deakins, most famous cinematographer ever, didn't win his Oscar until he was 70 after losing 15 times. It's like you don't you don't get good at anything in a year. It's all about the long game. So when I started, I did not expect to get anywhere. I thought it was going to be very, very slow. I mean, I think I told you my YouTube plan was 3 years of never missing a week.
Hmm.
It is very frustrating, but you just have, and you can allow yourself to feel frustrated. The problem is when you start listening to the voice that says it's too much. The universe is working against you, or you're there's some reason why it's not for you, or there's someone to blame, or whatever it is. When that secondary voice comes in and is like, just go do something else, the only way to guarantee you don't succeed is to go do something else.
I think I'm gonna make a board of quotes that you just gave me and just stick them on my wall to just like remember them when I need to. For now, if people are now really curious about you, what you do, your videos, what's the best place to find you? How can people stay in your orbit?
Just YouTube. I mean, I have Instagram, but I post on there like once every couple of months. I'm not active. Everyone who's dropping DMs in there, I'm never going to read them. I'm sorry.
If you made it this far, I know you're serious about growing as a creator. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. Check out the episode I did with Mr. Alex Tech, where we dive even deeper into going full time as a creator. Oh, and if you want proven success systems on how to grow as a creator, check out the Orbit newsletter. I send it out once a week. It's packed with actionable lessons and it's completely free. All the links for that are down in the description, and you can check it out after the next episode.